Well, I'm sure most of you knew it wouldn't be long before you'd see another one of these, because I'm just so gall-darned obsessive. That's right, folks. It's DVD collection update time again. This time around, British Sci-Fi. Boy, I tell you, nobody does science fiction like the Brits. Nobody. And for me personally, the golden age of British science fiction was the full 10-year span of the 70s. So much good stuff came out of the 70s. You had, of course, Doctor Who in what many consider to be its golden age, and I tend to agree. The Tomorrow People, Doomwatch, Survivors, Blake 7 started in the 70s. So much good stuff came out of the 70s. Of course, the only drawback was that most of these productions were marred by incredibly low budgets and low production value. But they more than made up for it with really strong stories and just fabulous acting and just some amazingly creative ideas. So, the latest additions to my DVD collection are from this era. I noticed, I was reading a lot of the Doctor Who forums, for example, as I often do, but I've been reading them a little more lately because the new series, Series 4 of the new series is airing right now. So, you know, around that time every year I get sort of, you know, all fired up about Doctor Who again and tend to get a little crazy. So I thought it was high time I updated my Doctor Who DVD collection. But before I get into that, I'm happy to announce that I finally got set 3 of the Tomorrow People. I actually had this during my last update, but I forgot to mention it. So now, I have all 8 seasons of the original 70s Tomorrow People series. Tomorrow People was interesting. It was structured very similarly to the way Doctor Who was structured. Doctor Who, the original series, was basically a series of serials. So like you would have one story which would span 4 episodes or 6 episodes or 7 episodes, depending, you know, on the era it's from. Typically it was either 4 or 6 was usually the case. And then you'd have, you know, that 4 episodes, for example, would make up one story. And then there would be a new serial which may continue on from the end of that one, but more often than not was just another self-contained story, just another adventure of the Doctor. So when you were watching it, you really wanted to make sure you didn't miss an episode of a serial, because each episode would leave off with a cliffhanger. And if you missed one episode, boy, you were completely screwed for the rest of the story, because a lot would happen in one episode, so you really didn't want to miss an episode. And of course, the other side of that is it always kept you coming back for more. It was very easy to get addicted to Doctor Who because of the serialized nature of it and the cliffhangers and such. So, you know, that's pretty much what hooked me in back in the day. So anyway, I was looking at my Doctor Who collection and looking at a lot of the DVDs that are available, and I realized that, you know, for all the ones that I have, I really didn't have a lot of the ones that you know, that really got me into the show to begin with, specifically the 70s episodes. I had a lot of 60s ones and some 80s ones and a couple of 70s ones, but for some reason I just hadn't got around to it. And then I remembered, of course, the reason was because I was originally collecting the DVDs in order of Doctor, so I would start with the first Doctor's adventures, get all the ones that are available there, second Doctor, get all the ones that are available there. And then I spent a lot of time on the third Doctor, so I had a lot of third Doctor stories, but not a lot of fourth Doctor stories. And the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, also known as the guy with the scarf, for those who don't know the names, was the Tom Baker stories were the ones that I really grew up with. So I thought, I really don't have a lot of Tom Baker. I should get some more Tom Baker for my collection. So that's what I did. And also I noticed that some of my Third Doctor adventures, there was some news stories that had been released. So, at long last, I have updated my collection. I'm still not up to date. It's going to be a while before I get up to date because there's just so many. They've released, I don't know, somewhere around 60 volumes, of which I have about 30. So I've got about half of the releases so far. So, we got 6 new ones. First, we got 2 more from the Third Doctor, John Pertwee. We got Inferno, which is an epic 7-part end-of-the-world saga, which is just amazing. It's one of my favorite John Pertwee stories. It's just so wonderfully apocalyptic and dark. And then we got The Time Warrior, which was a notable story because it was the first time the opening title sequence had been updated in years, where they did the big endless time tunnel effect, which most people have seen. Most recently appeared in Family Guy, Blue Harvest, when Peter is saying, "Boy, hyperspace looks so weird." And then it cuts to the Doctor Who titles. The Doctor Who fan in me really appreciated that joke. And I remember in the commentary, Seth MacFarlane was saying it didn't get a lot of laughs, so he thought more people would recognize it. But hey, Seth, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but I'll say that anyway, I recognized it, and I thought it was a great joke, and I laughed my ass off. So there you go. So anyway, Doctor Who, The Time Warrior. So it had the first appearance of the Time Tunnel, the first appearance of, focus, of Sarah Jane Smith, who recently, sorry, I got a cut on my finger there. I bashed my finger while cooking the other day. First appearance of Sarah Jane Smith, who actually recently reappeared in the new series, and now has her own spin-off series called The Sarah Jane Adventures, which is pretty cool. And also the first appearance of the Sontarans. And the Sontarans recently reappeared in the new series as well, so it's kind of cool to go back and see the origins of both of these characters. So that's a really good one, and one that I hadn't seen. I don't know if I'd have ever actually seen it all the way through. I think I saw it once back in the day, but it was great to see it again. And then, finally, I got up my ass and started working on the Tom Baker collection. Specifically, I wanted to get stuff from his first 3 or 4 seasons, which for me personally were my favorites. I mean, I love his entire run, but the first 3 or 4 seasons in particular are the ones that I have a special fondness for because they're mainly the ones that I grew up with. So we have Robot, which was his very first story. You may recall in a blog a while back I was talking about, I think it was my 5 Facts one, where I was talking about Doctor Who a bit. And I was saying how in where I first heard about it was in a book about robots. Well, this was one of the robots that was in that book, and one of the ones that made me want to see the series. And yeah, so that was great. So it's nice to actually have this story that was kind of the, among the origins of how I discovered the show, which is pretty cool. So anyway, Tom Baker's debut story, really good. And it's pretty cool. They've released almost all of Tom Baker's first season. They just need to release the last one, which is Revenge of the Cybermen, which was also part of, one of the things that introduced me to the show. Then we have The Ark in Space, which is his second story. The Sontaran Experiment, yes, the Sontarans again. They actually have all, I think the Sontarans appeared in 4 stories in the original series. There was, The Time Warrior was the first one, the Sontaran Experiment was the second one, which was the year after. Then a couple years later they had The Invasion of Time, which is actually coming out on DVD over here very soon. And then their final appearance in the original series was The Two Doctors, which was a 6th Doctor story, which guest starred the 2nd Doctor, so they both teamed up to fight the Sontarans, which is pretty cool. And then finally, Planet of Evil, which actually just came in the mail today, and which is what prompted me to finally get off my ass and do this update video. I was kind of waiting for them to all show up so I could show them all at once. Planet of Evil, also notable in my personal experience with Doctor Who, because this is the first story. It's a 4-part story. It's the first story that I saw from beginning to end. I saw all 4 parts as they were shown on the local PBS channel at the time. They were showing 1 episode a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. and then usually on the weekends they would show movie compilations of certain stories. So this was the first story that I saw all the way through, so this is also very special to me personally in my lifelong love affair with Doctor Who. I should mention also, these are the Region 1 releases, which have fairly uniform spine design. You got the nice blue Doctor Who logo, which I really like, and then just white on black for the titles. So I'm not kind of holding them there. So there's always a little bit of misalignment, but for the most part they line up quite nicely on the shelf and look really snazzy. Now, as anybody in my Stickam chat room will attest to, I could just ramble on about Doctor Who forever, so I will spare you. But, yeah, so these particular additions to the collection are, these are basically all the earliest ones of Tom Baker's that are available. There's also Genesis of the Daleks, just 1 second here, which is also from his first season, and I picked this one up a little while ago, and really good stuff. So that actually just slots in right after the Sontaran experiment. So there you go. So this is all of the like, if you're going to collect Tom Baker in order, these are the first 5 earliest stories of his that have been released. And yeah. And so actually, speaking of John Pertwee, the third Doctor, there was actually 2 more volumes just released this month, June 3rd, if I remember correctly. So right when I get caught up on all the John Pertwee releases, they release 2 more. Well, I can't really complain because John Pertwee was awesome, and I'm always happy to have more of his stuff in my collection. It just means more money I gotta spend, basically. So I'm probably going to get those 2 John Pertwee ones next to get all up to date on the third Doctor collection, and then go back to carrying on with Tom Baker. Tom Baker had the longest run as the Doctor. He was in the series for 7 years. John Pertwee actually had the second longest run. He was in the series for 5 years. So between the 2 of them, they generally have the most stories. Like Tom Baker has 42 stories in his run. And as you notice, the DVDs, they release individual stories rather than seasons. The advantage to that, of course, means they can just spend more time on the DVDs, and they just load them with extras. Like, just look at the, you don't even need to read the text, just look at the box. Even the Sontaran experiment is just 2 episodes, and it's got a pile of extras. Ark in Space. Look at that box. Look at that dense text there. That's just listing the extras on there. Like, I don't know of any other TV show on DVD at all that has just the sheer volume of extras that they pack onto the Doctor Who discs. And so if they did them as season sets, chances are they would not have that many extras. And it's quality stuff, too. I mean, they do really good stuff. They dig out archival interviews. They do new featurettes with new interviews with everybody. And often they'll pull out original footage, like studio footage or film footage, model sequences, whatever, from the archives, clean them up and present them, uncut for you to, get a look at, like a first-hand look behind the scenes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a great collection, and at some point, I actually want to do a Doctor Who centered video, as if this one isn't Doctor Who centered enough, because I know there's a lot of fans of the new show, the newer series, who I'm sure are curious about the older series and would love to have a look at it. I see this topic come up in the forums all the time, but they're a little confused or put off by the way the DVDs are released, because in this age of TV shows on DVD, I think most of us are accustomed to just getting season sets. It's nice and clear and obvious. It's like, okay, I want to start from the beginning, I'll get season 1. There you go, and then proceed to season 2. But Doctor Who isn't structured like that. It's individual stories from within seasons, because the individual stories, as I say, basically stand alone. But the cool thing is, I don't know if they do this on the Region 2 releases, but they do on the Region 1 releases, is they actually do tell you which story it is. So they number them clearly on the back. So if you wanted to watch stuff in order, if we go back to John Pertwee here, John Pertwee, was in the 50s. But so they do actually number the stories correctly based on which which story they're on. There was a total of about 100 and, if I remember correctly, there was 159 stories, like individual stories, in the original series. So theoretically, there should be 159 volumes of Doctor Who by the time it's all done. Unfortunately, a lot of the earlier episodes from the 60s are actually missing. They were either destroyed or lost over the years, and unfortunately aren't available. So there's going to be more like 130 something. I think I did a count. There'd be like 132 volumes when the series is all done. And they've actually stepped up the releases recently. Another reason I wanted to try to get caught up. And they're putting out something like 10 stories a year, which means they will have all of the remaining stories available within a few years. I think they said they're looking to get them all available on DVD by 2011 or 2012, something like that. So that's not too far. That's like 4 years. In 4 years, they will have the entire original series, like all the existing episodes, available. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anyway, that's basically it. Holy crap, I rambled a lot. See, what I say, I can ramble about Doctor Who, and this is just, I'm just talking about the DVD releases themselves. I'm not even talking about the show. Like, if you get me talking about the show and stuff like that, I can just go on and on and on. But anyway, I'm going to do sort of a Doctor Who disambiguation video at some point for those interested in the DVDs. There's a few disambiguation videos I want to do because of, massive or possibly confusing DVD releases. But I'll get into those as I get into them. Yeah. So anyway, that's basically it. Just wanted to show the latest additions to the collection, building up the British Sci-Fi collection. Probably going to be working on that for a while. Oh! How could I forget? There's one more thing I got. I'm an idiot. I am such an idiot. This was an early Father's Day present from Annetta to me. I got my first Blu-ray disc, 2001, A Space Odyssey. This is the new special edition that they put out with loads of extras and behind-the-scenes stuff. Which, might I add, it's... Sorry, I'm just adjusting the photos. Might I add, it's about freaking time. Like, if ever a movie deserved loads of behind-the-scenes stuff and documentaries about the making of it, it's 2001. I mean, they broke so much ground with that in terms of effects and such. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, great. Of course, I don't have a high-definition television yet, but I do have the PS3. So the cool thing about the PS3 is it actually downconverts to standard def. So even though you can't enjoy the high-definition quality, you can at least watch the content on a standard def TV. Now, how does Blu-ray high-definition downconverted to standard def look on a standard def TV, you're probably wondering? Basically, you know how DVDs, even the really good ones, sometimes will have pixelization or macro blocking as they call it, or artifacting as they also call it, or the picture will look a little fuzzy or a little soft. Okay, Blu-ray on standard def TV is the crispest, cleanest, most perfect, artifact-free standard def I've ever seen. It is absolute perfection. It is as good as standard def can ever possibly look. So do I recommend watching Blu-ray on a standard def TV? Of course, definitely. So the nice thing is now, because we have the PS3 that can do that, the down conversion, we can actually start buying Blu-ray discs and enjoying them long before we actually get a high-def TV. And then when we do get a high-def TV, we can rewatch them all over again and enjoy them like, in all their high-def glory. So, yeah, cool stuff. Anyway, I am pushing 20 minutes, so I'm going to bid you adieu for now. So that's it. That's the latest from me to you, right here on Video Corner. No, wait a minute. That's it's an old thing I used to do. Maybe I'll talk about it at some point. But, yeah, so that's the latest addition to my DVD collection. Hope you enjoyed it. That's it from me to you. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.